Hi guys, it's Rachel. So I made a video a couple months ago about my journey to PR and how taking a one-year program was a terrible move, at least for my case. The main challenge I faced pursuing this route was that I ran out of time and options, which is why I had to remain in Canada on a visitor status. A lot of you suggested other options I should have considered. Some of you said why not get a BOWP or get another postgrad work permit or even get an LMIA. Well, to be frank, I have, and I'll explain why it didn't work out. So I guess let's jump right into it. Before my PGWP ended, I had already submitted an express entry profile. However, I did not receive an invitation, which is very crucial to apply for permanent residency in Canada. So with the expiry date of my PGWP fast approaching, I had to think and act quickly. You see, I had two options: to stay in Canada or to leave, and I badly wanted to stay. I don't know, leaving felt like a sign of defeat as I invested a lot of my time, money, and emotions. But it was mainly emotions that kept me here in Canada, as I didn't want to disappoint my parents and the hard work they put to help me stay and live here. But if I wanted to stay in Canada, I had to remain here with legal status. So what are my options to remain here legally? Well, my first and ideal option was to get an ITA or an invitation to apply for PR. If I got an ITA before my postgrad work permit ended, I could have applied for PR and also a BOWP or a bridging open work permit. That way I can remain in Canada, wait for my PR to be processed, and continue to work at my current job on a BOWP. So, just a briefer on this type of work permit. A BOWP is a type of open work permit, meaning you can work for any employer across Canada. The BOWP is issued to applicants that have submitted a PR application and have a valid work permit that expires within 4 months or less. When my postgrad work permit ended, I didn't get an ITA, meaning I was not eligible to apply for PR. And because I wasn't eligible to apply for PR, I wasn't eligible to apply for a BOWP either. And it also works the same in reverse. A lot of you asked why I didn't apply for a BOWP after getting an ITA. And here's my thought. Well, one of the requirements of a BOWP was to have a valid work permit. But since I got invited after my postgrad work permit expired, I still wasn't eligible for a BOWP. In short, timing was an issue here. Next, my second best option was to consider the PNP or the Provincial Nominee Program. I actually did consider this. Not only did I consider this option, I actually tried to apply. To be more specific, I tried applying for the BC PNP under the International Graduate Stream. This program is for students that have graduated from a Canadian university or college in the past 3 years, and you also need an indeterminate full-time job offer from a BC employer. But the only problem was my employer's willingness to support my application. This requires the employer to go through a long legal process of filling out forms and submitting company documents. These forms and documents may conflict with the company's policies and pose an organizational challenge. Moreover, let's be real. I know I'm no one special. I worked there for just over a year and in a supportive role. So my position could have been easily replaced by a local without the company going through the long or tedious legal process. But there's no hard feelings, and I completely understand and respect why the company didn't go through with it. But hopefully this answers your question why PNP is not for me. Now, without the employer's support, I had to kill this option, which was the LMIA. An LMIA, or a Labor Market Impact Assessment, requires my employer to go through a longer, more difficult, and more costly legal process. Just to give you an example, one of the requirements of an LMIA is for the employer to advertise the job. The hard part here for the employer is that they have to consider and prioritize all local or domestic applicants before even considering a foreign worker for that job. If they couldn't get any local applicants, they have to justify why the foreign worker is needed. I've seen the application myself and found it difficult to answer the questions needed from the employer. Moreover, the LMIA is costly since it requires professional help, aka an immigration lawyer, which could cost the employer at least 5,000 Canadian dollars in legal fees. On top of that, the employer also has to incur application fees, which could be at least 1,000 Canadian dollars. So all in, it costs the employer at least 6,000, and if the salary position is 35 grand, add 6 grand to it, and the position is now 41,000 Canadian dollars. The employer can easily bypass this headache and cost simply by hiring a local. Again, I'm no one special with no special skills, and it just doesn't make sense for an employer to go through that whole process for me. So yeah, LMIA is also a no bueno. Second to the last option was to study again. Guys, I went through 5 years of engineering and 1 year of graphic design. All my life, it seems like I've only been a student. As much as I appreciate learning, I think I've reached the point of diminishing returns. I wanted to venture on a new path, which was to work and hone my skills there. Moreover, it was just hard to justify paying the additional cost to study again. Plus, I was issued a PGWP already, which means I won't get another one. A PGWP is only issued to you once in your lifetime, and since I got it already, that's it. Yes, I knew that I would get additional points for my CRS score if I pursued longer studies in Canada, but the cost-benefit analysis was just not worth it. So, pursuing this option was just killing more time and money. And in that case, studying is also a no bueno for me. And finally, there's the visitor record. Ironically, it was my least favorite option, but it was the best option in my case. And I hated it, and I fought the idea so hard. I went from a full-time student to a full-time worker to suddenly a visitor. I was just sitting and waiting. I was doing absolutely nothing, and I felt like a potato. I knew that applying to stay in Canada as a visitor had limitations. I couldn't study, I couldn't work, and basically, I couldn't do anything. In the middle of a pandemic, it's even scarier because I did not have medical coverage, and if anything were to happen to me, I'd be completely trapped. But I had to work with the cards I've been dealt with. So going on a visitor status was really my best option as it worked well for timing, it did not require support from my employer, it didn't cost as much, and it addressed my concern, which was to remain in Canada legally. For all these reasons, going on visitor status was the way to go. So the reason why I was in this predicament was because I took the 1-year study route. There was a time constraint with this route as I was only given a 1-year postgrad work permit. There was also a bit of financial irony as well. You know, I thought I would be saving money for taking a 1-year program, when in reality, I ended up spending more living here on a visitor status. Which is why I don't recommend taking this route, as you are likely to face the same challenges as I did. As you could see, I have considered all options and tried to see the best option for me before eventually applying for a visitor record. However, given my circumstances, visitor was the best option. So what can we learn from my experience? Well, here are the 3 A's I can impart to you. First off, I'll be honest. I tend to get caught up in attempting to control the outcome of things, which is why the hardest pill to swallow during that time was accepting my fate. The whole experience taught me the true meaning of acceptance, because in life, sometimes things don't go our way. For example, I was caught off guard when I had to apply for a visitor record to remain in Canada, but life also took a turn for the better when I eventually got an ITA and applied for PR. Ultimately, something good unfolded even in choosing the less desirable option. The experience taught me to work with what I'm given and to take every opportunity as a way to grow and to learn. Another thing that I learned from immigration is that you have to adjust. I know I emphasize the need to have a roadmap or a plan in order to succeed, but I realized it requires more than just mapping out a plan and sticking to it. The goals shouldn't change, but your plan may constantly evolve because immigration is also constantly evolving. So, this whole experience taught me to revisit my approach and to become more flexible in adapting to change. Lastly, I need you to hear this. I've always struggled with the notion that my value is directly tied to the outcome, which is why it was so hard for me to accept becoming a student, to a worker, to eventually a visitor. When I stayed in Canada as a visitor, it seemed like I lost the fight. But I realized the outcome doesn't and shouldn't define my worth. Your worth is not dependent on what you do or accomplish. And I guess that's what I want to give you. Assurance. Regardless of what your original intention was, it's the process that defines your value. If you dedicate yourself to the process, well, you've already won. Because the process is already daunting, and whatever results from it is just a bonus. So I hope that you take that with you when you arrive. So there you have it. I hope I addressed most of your questions in this video. I'm sharing this story because I want you to succeed. I hope my experience teaches you how to strategically plan your journey to Canada, and I hope the short pep talk encourages you to keep going and to keep your eyes on the prize. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and also comment down below if you wish to impart little nuggets of wisdom to my viewers out there as well. Anyway, thank you once again for watching. Keep safe and be kind. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.